here. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Okay. I, Noe Alvarez, will support the Constitution
I, Noe Alvarez, will support the Constitution
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the state of Oregon,
and the state of Oregon,
and will discharge the duties of student representative
and will discharge the duties of student representative
to the Forest Grove School District Board
to the Forest Grove School District Board
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Well, thank you, Noe. Congratulations. You've officially been sworn in. So welcome to the school board for this school year, which will be not a typical school year. So so you're very welcome. Thanks for being here this evening.
Perfect. Thank you.
I don't know, Noe, if you have any, now's the time that a student would typically do a student report. I don't know if you have one, or not. Do you have anything that you'd like to say this evening? You're certainly welcome to.
Only that I've talked to a couple of the seniors this year and kind of gotten a grasp on how they thought their first day went, and it was mostly the same, where they were a little bit confused on how things were going to work, but after doing introductions of their first block and kind of going through the day, they kind of got used to it. And most students don't seem very confused on what's really going on at this point, but we still have the first week of school to kind of figure out and kind of feel out how everything's going to be going on for the rest of the quarter.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you had your first day today too. So
Yeah.
Yeah. And how many classes do you have, Noe?
I had 3 classes today. I didn't have a 4th period.
Okay, got it. Okay. And it all went okay for you today, huh?
Smooth.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, thank you, Noe, again for being the acting students rep this year, and for your student rep report this evening. Okay, the next we've got calendar notes and recognition and the superintendent report. So Mr. Parker, I'll hand it over to you for this portion.
Thanks. Today was the first day of school, and it's been a long haul from March 12th, when we started into our first kind of version of comprehensive distance learning, and finding out this summer that we were going to go back to it and making the switch and training. You're going to hear tonight from our curriculum and instruction team kind of what they were doing to try to get us ready for that. I was trying to figure out how I could give you the best vision of kind of what went on today. So what I did is I asked each principal to give me a couple of sentences about how their first day went, both the good and the bad. I think it was pretty clear as soon as we started talking about this comprehensive distance learning that the first days and weeks were going to be challenging, really challenging, probably more so than at any time in my 31st year of education. So I was kind of curious what people were going to say today. So I'm going to go through, it's all first person. These are their words, each of the principals, and I'm going to go through and read them and take a little bit of time because I think it's useful to us to hear kind of some of the things that have been happening. So the first is from Angela at Cornelius. 88% of Cornelius students, grades 1st through 4th, attended school online today, 88%. Comments from some of their teachers. So many students logged in and were attentive and engaged. Students had participated and everyone gave today a 5 out of 5. I loved hearing how excited kids were to see and talk to each other. They were all working hard already. Those are comments from teachers. From Dilly, we had 100% attendance in most classrooms. We have about 3 families we have not been able to communicate with so far. Effective communication with families is and will continue to be the center of how we plan to operate. So far, teachers have done an amazing job in connecting with families. Parents did call our office when they were having technical difficulties, and we were able to walk them through the issues that they were having. One giant hurdle we had to get through today was having enough chargers and getting a hold of extra devices for families. So far, we're off to a good start. That was from Dilly. Echo Shaw. It was exhausting, but good. The majority of our students logged on when they were supposed to without needing any help from us. We pushed out a lot of videos prior to this morning to help families work through the day. It's tiring in a different way than a typical first day. It's more of a cognitive exhausted than a physical, but students are happy to see their peers, and she capitalized happy, happy to see their peers, and their teachers are the most amazing humans on the planet. We know so much now that I wish we would have known even 4 days ago. Our staff is learning lots. There was a lot of troubleshooting to help the students that did get stuck, but the ones that struggled, we were able to get them all connected. Fernhill, the last couple of weeks have been really stressful on everyone, and we know that everyone has been doing their best. A lot of stressed teachers are trying to be fully prepared, trying to make it perfect for their families to be able to connect this morning. The lead secretary is hustling and helping families get devices. And once students got online, teachers did what they do best, welcome students to the school year. All will even out soon, we hope. Oak Grove, this is from Krista. She said, I visited several teachers' Zoom classrooms this morning, and I'm sincerely relieved to see many of our students, all who receive special education services, be able to successfully log on to their class. Our anxiety about our first day of CDL has been replaced with feelings of hope, and knowing that we will problem solve as a team the challenges that lie ahead for our students and the students that missed class today. Understandably, there were many frustrations for our students, families, and staff. We have a program model and we're trusting the process. Before we know it, we'll have established a new routine and some much needed predictability and consistency for our students. Harvey Clark, they had 95%, as our first round of live meetings, we were running about 95% of our kids getting on with success. The main office phones have been busy, but manageable. Joseph Gale. At Joseph Gale, we have had our online classes going all day. While I don't have specific attendance rates, I attended several classes this morning and visited with most of our teachers and found that our attendance rates were high. At the same time, we've had a constant flow of families picking up materials and tech today, which was the continuation of the same pattern from last week. In the few class meetings I attended today, I found students very excited to be back interacting with their peers and their teachers, while at the same time wishing we were there in person. Tom McCall, we've been pleasantly surprised to learn that the majority of our students were in their teachers' virtual classrooms this morning. While I wasn't prepared for how emotionally charged it would be to see all the faces of our students interacting with their teachers once again, our virtual schoolhouse is alive with learning, and everything is going to be okay. Neil Armstrong, by 8 a.m., they had 704 students, which is about 80% of the student population. It was exciting to see our students advocating for themselves, asking questions, and genuinely getting engaged. The majority of the students and parents were extremely supportive, understanding, and flexible. There's a great deal of excitement among the students. They were eager to learn and be back in school with their peers. Our staff was challenged by the fact they had to support some students and families with technology issues while trying to teach their lessons and their curriculum that they designed for the day. It was a bit overwhelming at times to juggle the multiple responsibilities and still make it through some lessons. Reaching out to the remaining 20% of the students who didn't show up, or the challenges that we have in front of us over the next couple of days. I know that was pretty much job one for most of our administration, and a lot of our support staff was starting to reach out to kids who weren't there. I wanted to take a moment, and the high school didn't get back to me, so I haven't got a report for them. I heard kind of through some conversations I had that, again, they were busy today, kind of trying to connect with the kids who didn't make it. I want to just call out a couple of folks with the ends of my comments here. One is technology. I just want to take a moment and acknowledge the work that our technology department has done in the last 3 weeks and really since the beginning of the pandemic, because of our whole way of being is dependent upon them, and the work and energy that they put into what they're doing is incredible. Getting technology out to schools, working with us as we brought up 2 new pieces of technology. We've depended on them and they have not let us down. They were driving out to homes and delivering hotspots this weekend. All day today, we had people at the district office who are making runs to deliver individual pieces of technology to schools to get to a parent, get to a student. So Enrique, Deb, Ivan, JD, Kent, Melissa, and then everybody else out in the buildings who are kind of stepping up to help. I just want to say they've done an amazing job. It shows what Forest Grove's all about. Then I'd be remiss to just call out the efforts of our tech department, because of it's taken everybody, the business department, communications, human resources, student services, curriculum instruction. Everyone has worked hard to kind of get to this day. We knew this day was going to be fraught with chaos. Just the whole notion of starting up the school year without being able to see our kids. And the fact that some of the things we're hearing back are actually positive. You're going to hear both our challenges and some positives coming up here. I think the story that I want to tell is kind of how our dedicated educators and staff were able to have hope that we could bring this together and do some good things for kids. And we saw, we have 169 or 170 days of school left. But it feels good to be back in school. And I want to thank everyone for their hard work and their dedication to create an experience that are going to help us move forward. And we've got lots to learn. I think Perla's comments earlier is a great example of, like, even in the last 4 days, we've learned a incredible amount just to get to where we're at. So happy first day of school. Yay.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Thank you. Let's see. The next item is the unscheduled public appearance. Let's see. The board appreciates community members sharing information during public comments. Are there any comments that have been received?
Yes, Mark, I have 2. The first is from Mary Whitmore, and I'll go ahead and read that.
Okay.
What did you learn from 824 reading instruction presentation? What is your plan to help our 750 illiterate 3rd graders? I think parents and guardians receive statewide test results by US mail. Was there even one inquiry? Did you ever wonder why? Did you think parents and guardians now we're doing the best we can, or we're comparable to other Oregon districts, even nationwide, or the test was flawed? Were the parents and guardians too busy, distracted, numb, monolingual, or math challenged to figure out not even 4 out of 10 of our 3rd graders can read? The few who did understand had literate youngsters. It did not apply to them. Maybe the remaining parents and guardians were discouraged to complain, not knowing how or to whom. They might expect they'd be ignored or labeled troublemakers, fearing retribution, their children targeted. Number 1, in a digital bilingual survey, explain in simple terms to 3rd grade parent and guardians where we're at. Number 2, show them the success rates of explicit phonics schools. Offer them alternative digital explicit phonic instruction. 3, collaborate with Cascade Heights Public Charter School, Mitch Charter School, or Spalding to train our teachers. Readiness.org does not endorse digital instruction. I'd appreciate your thoughts. That's the first one. Second one is, bear with me as I've got too many windows open. 1 second. I had them all ready to go and then not so much anymore. I apologize.
So while Dave's doing that, Mark, I'll work with you to provide a response. I will say that the data she used, we don't have 750 third graders, and there's a whole series of problems with some of the statements that she made there, but I'll work with you to provide a response.
Yep. Thanks. That sounds good.
Okay, I've got the second one. This is from Gwen Blanton. Wow, I know the day isn't over yet, but we are so impressed with the improvements made compared to last year. Such a relief to our family. Thank you to the district, teachers, staff, and administrators that put in so much time and effort into making the school year successful. It still stinks that we are home, but so grateful we have some sort of new normal to look forward to every day. That's it.
Okay, thanks very much, David. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is made up of routine, non-controversial items to be voted on under one motion. Are there any items within the consent items a board member or the superintendent wishes to discuss separately? Okay, and hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay, moved and seconded. Okay. All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Narce Rodriguez,
Yes.
Val Ingram,
Yes.
Brad Bafero, Brad.
Yes.
Okay, Kate.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm a yes, so that passes. The consent agenda passes as it was presented. The next item is presentation, our only presentation this evening, which is preparations and trainings for the 2020-2021 school year, and Mr. O'Neill is going to be presenting on that. So I'll turn it over to you, Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair Everett, and good evening this evening. And I'd just like to take this opportunity and recognize the C&I department members and an honorary C&I department member, Christina Meinica, with us that have worked so hard this year to get everything up and ready. Elena Carter, Brenda Lindsay, Allison Samuels, Leonard Terrible, and just echoing what Dave said, you know, the whole district office and everybody in it, all the departments have worked tirelessly to get that going. So anyway, let me see if I can get to that link. It's all right with you, Chair Everett. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. No, that didn't work. Share screen. So in terms of preparation and training, there was a lot of summer planning, training, and instructional reopening efforts, and the board will recall much of this. But the C&I department is primarily responsible for designing the pre-service professional development program for the entire district. Each year, our department works with principals, other departments, and staff to offer professional development opportunities to support and enhance learning in all K-12 offerings. Traditionally, these trainings focus on literacy, math, dual language, GLAD, CM, etc. However, as you know, this year, our scope of trainings was greatly expanded and very different in order to meet the requirements and prepare our system to meet the instructional challenges of comprehensive distance learning and hybrid. The following presentation provides an overview of the extensive work that occurred over the summer and during in-service or pre-service in preparation of unprecedented upcoming school year. As you know, ODE has been presenting ongoing editions of Ready Schools, Safe Learners. We're now up to version 3.7, Planning for COVID-19 Scenarios in Schools, Comprehensive Distance Learning, a companion to Ready Schools, Safe Learners, and the next one is Deepening Care, Connection, and Continuity of Learning. And they continue with these updates. Our job is to communicate and coordinate with principals regarding the ODE reopening blueprint expectations and organizing the creation of school blueprint teams. As you know, we had 10 teams, and we continue to monitor ODE and growing experience that we will have, like Perla the last 4 days, in terms of opening for CDL and or hybrid model once we get there, and adjust as necessary to help identify best practices as we go along. So our C&I team helped determine the instructional model and the curricular planning at each level. That's PK through grade 4, grades 5 and 6, grades 7 and 8, and grades 9, 12. Each one of those levels, as our board knows, has unique needs. So in terms of the reopening blueprint plan development, this was a team effort with all of the departments in our district working together in collaboration and coordination with cabinet members, sharing the responsibility for the assigned areas. It is still a work in progress as new guidance, like I said, continues to be released every 2 weeks. The last installment was September 8th. The reopening blueprint plans were intentionally created, as you know, to provide the flexibility for our schools to move between hybrid and comprehensive distance learning models without changing our core instructional program. And the state required districts' adoption of a digital learning management system and an online learning platform to provide a more enriched and engaging learning environment for students. So we identified new digital solutions. The C&I department, working closely with our technology departments, identified the instructional needs to help define and determine the selection of these new tools. Canvas with Studio was selected as a new learning management system, and Zoom was selected as the new online learning platform. These new tools equals lots of new training system-wide. To undertake this unprecedented task, converting our entire educational program to a digital LMS and online learning environment in just a few months. This is my 31st year in public education, and I have to think back to when Sputnik was launched. Then President challenged the United States public educational system to greatly enhance and improve the services delivered to students so that we can keep up with the Russians and shoot the lunar landing. They had years to get that done. We had 2.5 months, basically. And I just want to applaud everyone at the district level, and particularly also C&I and technology department and student services for helping get this up and off the ground. So we had to develop a training model for our district. The first decision was how to proceed with training for this fall and all licensed and classified staff in this new virtual environment. So we landed on train the trainer model was selected instead of using outside trainers from the district. We've learned this over several years. This is my 11th year in our curriculum and instruction at the district office level. And one thing we've learned repeatedly when we adopt new trainings and new instructional strategies is our teachers and staff have a greater impact than hiring outside trainers. So when we identified this approach, our department brought together lead teachers, staff, and administrators from all grade levels, all content areas, and all schools to become trained on Canvas, the learning management system. CNI staff members, Elena Carter, Brenda Lindsay, Allison Samuels, worked together with Christina Meinicke from Student Services to put together new teacher and in-service trainings. So the trainings for the new teachers as well as in-service trainings. The challenge with this approach is they had to fly the plane while they were creating it. So they were designing lessons after they became trained weeks prior to put together trainings along with the lead teachers for the entire system, and then differentiate between certified and licensed staff, and then get ready for the next day's training. So they haven't had much sleep, to be honest. So in mobilizing the district PD plan, trainings were provided to all certified staff during our extended in-service weeks. And again, thank you to our school board and Superintendent Parker for recognizing this increased need for professional development in time to ramp up our digital learning environment. An elementary and secondary Canvas template were created to ensure alignment and consistency across the district. What we mean by that is when students or parents log on to Canvas, they can see the second grade template regardless of whether or not they move from school to school within the district. Same way with Canvas, secondary template. And so it becomes very user-friendly very quickly. During this time, the role of instructional coaches has proven invaluable to our entire system as they developed, led, and supported these trainings. The next step is to provide just-in-time support to individual teachers and grade level teams at the elementary levels, and at the secondary levels, providing just-in-time individual teacher support to professional learning communities and individual teachers and individual classified staff as needed. Due to the limited number of instructional coaches, the train the trainer model has proven essential in meeting district-wide needs. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of our teacher leaders at all the school sites and at various grade levels who stepped forward during the summer and gave up their summer time to help us ramp up. Again, they too had to become trained on these new tools to the level of being able to support trainings district-wide and to help provide just-in-time support as issues crop up while we're enrolled in our distance learning day-to-day. So essential roles of instructional coaches. Our coaches have taken on expanded roles well beyond their identified areas of responsibility to pull together to get the trainings done. Our examples are, for instance, secondary math coach Allison Samuel provided district-wide secondary training to all secondary teachers grades 7 through 12, including classified staff. Our elementary math coach Brenda Lindsay provided a variety of trainings to all elementary staff. And our student success coach helped train staff on Canvas, Zoom, and other topics, just so that we can get the training sizes down to 100 students or staff members. Our district literacy coordinator, Elena Carter, provided training on Canvas and Zoom to our district staff as well. District literacy coach and district elementary math coach provided Newzilla training, which supplements our core reading program for grades 2 through 6 with reading selections and learning activities in English as well as Spanish for our students. So that will also, they're all digitized. They are linked and tied in to our Canvas portal, and teachers can assign lessons and activities seamlessly through that. Also, our elementary and secondary math coaches provided training on using the interactive math textbook and Avid Notes while teaching remotely. So here's some of those trainings, like I just mentioned. The trainings, Zoom PD, followed up by question and answer by grade level band. Grade levels that receive that training pre-K through grade 12, all staff, led by Allison, Elena, Brenda, and Christina. Canvas day 1 through 3 with questions and answers by grade band with Cami. That's pre-K through 12. Classified day 1 only. Those are our trainers. IA supports, instructional assistance supports. One thing we realize is we really need to spend a lot of time with our instructional assistants, not only with these online tools, but also how to navigate a digital landscape and how to use Chromebooks and laptops to a much greater degree than what they have been used to. And also Canvas day 4, grades 7 through 12. And again, down below, you can see grade bands counts were 100 to 240 participants in these trainings. More trainings include online math program, our HMH, Go Math, and Avid notes taking for math teachers, grades 7 through 9, Newzilla online content, grades 2 through 6, Teaching Alex online math teachers, grades 7 through 10. That's our online supplemental math fluency support software designed to accelerate students that are at or below grade level in math. And then also social emotional learning, CEL, K6 Christina, and Universal Design for Learning, K6 Christina provided that, along with multiple other trainings in terms of, for instance, our suicide prevention training led by our student services department. But I'm primarily just focusing on the nuts and bolts for the day-to-day educational learning experience that our students and teachers will work with every day. So as you know, we've had professional development exit slips for multiple years now. And those are electronic PD exit slips are provided to all training participants to fill out at the conclusion of every training. The exit slips are designed to collect feedback from participants being trained, to inform the effectiveness of the training that was just provided, and materials that were used during the training, and to determine adjustments necessary in future trainings. The C&I department and other trainers met after each day's training to discuss what went well, what didn't go well, review exit slip feedback, and make adjustments as necessary for future trainings and next steps. And during pre-service, that usually occurred between these instructional coaches and Elena from about 7 o'clock at night till 10:30 at night, getting ready for the next day's training. So some of our these are our professional development exit slip questions for your review. Participants fill out online. What is your primary work location? What school do you work at? What grade levels of students with whom you work? Please identify your job classification. Are you a classroom teacher? Are you an instructional assistant? Are you a counselor? Are you a specialist? Are you a school site administrator? Again, we don't want to know exactly who these individuals are that fill out each individual one, but we definitely need their comments so that we can tailor the next training accordingly. So we also ask an open-ended question. What comments would you like to share about the training? And then please rate how usable the materials provided by the training will be for you in your current position on a scale of 1 to 4, 4 being high. And then what comments about the materials would you like to make? And please state the best part or parts of the training. Also, how could the training be made to be more useful to you? And what follow-up or extended training would you like to receive as a result of attending this training? And for administrators that attended those trainings, what do you need next as a member of our admin team in terms of PD or support as you lead these professional development opportunities in your building? So again, let's see. Exit slips ratings of trainings. So the training titles, this is based on the exit slips. Canvas day 1, for instance, we had 614 staff members invited. We had just over half fill out responses, 315. The rating of the overall training is a 3.3 out of a 4-point scale. and the rating of the materials was a 3.3. So you can see that ratings for Canvas day 2, 3, 4 were very high, regardless of the fact that, quite honestly, all teachers and staff, including our trainers, were drinking from a fire hose, so to speak, in terms of the information needed to get their classrooms up and running. We also realized that we're going to need multiple circling back to provide supports, and I'll get more into that. But the IA Canvas training, we had 254 instructional assistants participate, 46 responded using the exit slips, and they rated the training 3.3 out of a 4-point scale, and the rating of training materials 3.1.
Hey, John,
Yeah, go ahead.
are you happy with those return rates in terms of filling out those exit slips? I mean, one of the things I would question the number of people filling out those slips as being concerning, that those are the low numbers of staff that are actually even filling those slips out right now. I mean,
yeah, that's a good point, Brad. Yes, we're happy with the ratings. We had another rating that another training a few years ago that teachers gave it a 2.1 and a 2.2, which was very alarming to us on a 4-point scale. And we worked with the outside trainers, and that was one of the last trainings that we actually brought in from the outside. In fact, we did not discontinue it. But the question you also raise is the number of staff responses. At the conclusion of each of those trainings, the presenter goes over that opportunity for them to fill it out, and we ask them to do so. However, we also heard from the union as well as lead teachers throughout the district that during this time, we really need very intentional professional development training followed up with individual implementation time. So I just learned this, don't hit me with another training. I need to sit here and practice and set up my Canvas or work and navigate Zoom. And so while the numbers weren't where we'd like it to be, we can definitely see that a lot of them jumped right into getting into the application while it's fresh in their minds. But yes, we definitely would love to see more participation because again, we're depending on them to help tailor next steps to meet their needs. Brad, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I would just say, I understand what you're saying, John. I would just say if I looked at that and saw that I had such low participation in the evaluation, I would maybe think about another way to evaluate the trainings. And typically when people don't fill out that evaluations, it's not always a positive thing. And you know that.
Yes, and in the past, when we have in-person trainings, we say, okay, here's the exit slip, we need this, and they don't leave the room until we get the exit slip. It's a little bit different in a digital virtual environment, but yes.
Maybe at some level, you can make sure you let them know how important it is to give you feedback, no matter if it's positive or negative. That would be helpful.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I would just ask also, John, did you get any sort of anecdotal feedback that wasn't recorded on a response form? Because sometimes, we've all gone to trainings, and sometimes you're not going to maybe write it down, but you're going to say something. Did anybody get any anecdotal? That's one question. The other question is, I think I heard you say that sort of, if you would, class sizes were 100 students or maybe 250 students. Is there, one of my questions is, I think you had some people trained over the summer, and why wouldn't you have tried to lower class size, if I can use that term, by using some of the people who had been trained over the course of the summer?
Mark, that's a great question, both of them. The first one is, yes, we had some very high class sizes. And what we heard, and I'll share some anecdotal feedback. But one thing that we heard is some real anxiety on the parts of some of our lead teachers in terms of stepping up to that lead trainer role. And again, I just need to be totally transparent. Not one of our coaches or myself or administrators really had a firm grasp of Canvas or Zoom. We've participated in a Zoom and a few led or participated in Canvas classes at the local community college or at the universities. But that was a high stakes environment. So we will be leaning very much so on our lead teachers that were trained and the trainer models going forward and differentiating. That's some of our takeaways, but I'll get into that. And if you still have follow-up, please ask.
So that's one of the things that I think, I know this is, this was the first shot at this for the whole district, and it's a year's process, or it's really intense for the first term here, the first 9 weeks. So I know we'll get better, but I don't know if maybe we, looking backwards, if there had been a way of trying to lower class size by using some of those trainers who felt comfortable enough to do it, maybe in hindsight that might, we all know that the lower the class size, the more personal attention you get, the quicker your answer gets answered, and the more dialogue that happens. So that's just what I would say, so.
John, may I say something?
Sure.
We did actually, Mark, within just even with the coaches, we did discuss that if there was any way that we'd be able to bring additional teachers into actually overseeing the trainings, because we did recognize that the numbers were going to be large. The biggest challenge and obstacle that we faced at the time, and they're not saying that we couldn't have done it different now in hindsight, was that twofold. We had to become experts basically overnight. And while the teachers did go through the training, there was a lot of extensive follow-up that just the CNI team had to do to work through kind of the kinks of Canvas and how the tech piece works. And that was a lot of days and a lot of hours. And then we had to then do planning time in order to plan the trainings, because we basically created those trainings from scratch using Canvas tutorials, but we created the training ourselves. And so it was an unmanageable amount of hours that went into that. And so we did talk about, can we bring additional teachers and help train? But the feedback was that they were already feeling overwhelmed with just kind of the ask, which was like so grateful that they agreed to do that. But then on top of it, to ask them to help us plan the trainings. And that was like probably the feedback the most, that they were like, we will help you in the breakout rooms. Let's make the groups smaller. Once we get into the training, let's make breakout rooms so that we have smaller groups of people, 5, 10 in each breakout room to practice the skills. But we just, we don't really at this point can handle like taking on and being a trainer ourselves. So that's kind of why we chose at that time not to do that. Not that we couldn't figure it out if we had known ahead of time kind of what we were facing. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. I just, like I said, this is also new. Maybe going forward, I don't know if you can lean on some of those folks, because they're going to be doing it every day, and they might have a little bit of a leg up and on just the daily stuff, everything that has to go into, making tests and taking attendance and just all the stuff. So I don't know. Do you see those folks as being, I guess, point of contact within their buildings more as the school year goes on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're absolutely right, Mark, in terms of they will be very quickly the resident experts, because they're going to be running it every single day. Yeah, so this is how we monitor and adjust the trainings to better meet the staff needs. So what did we learn?
Hey, John, I think Brenda had a comment there.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Brenda. Brenda?
Brenda, you're muted, but not muted.
Okay, so Brenda, I'll go ahead and come back to you as soon as we get done on what did we learn. Sound good? So this was a debrief with CNI and Christina involved. Based upon Canvas Day 1 training feedback, it was determined to differentiate licensed staff and classified staff for future Canvas training. So what we did is we went ahead and broke apart the classified staff and the licensed staff, so that we didn't have as wide of a differentiated need in terms of technology training as well as the tools themselves training. We also, and again, I just need to say at the end of each day, CNI held debrief sessions so that we could debrief. Okay, so how did it go? What did you see? What did you hear? What's next steps? Let's take a look at the exit slip feedback training. And okay, so what are next steps? And again, like I said, they would modify and create the next day's training based upon the feedback that we received. You know, what were the major questions or stumbling blocks that teachers were encountering in the work? And what kind of troubleshooting did we need to go ahead and work with Enrique and technology department to bring back to the next day's training so that we could share that learning. And again, this is a work in progress and we're learning as we're flying the plane. Also, we determined differentiate future trainings by level of technology proficiency. So I just had a secondary principal meeting today, and we came up with 3 different levels as we move forward with our Wednesday in-service training time, as well as upcoming district days in terms of professional development, where staff will be asked to identify which group would they most align with. Is it emerging new skills, or are they pretty proficient at the technology, yet they need the new learning for the tools that we're putting in their hands? Or are they advanced? We had some that I've taught college level courses at the high school level, and this is good. Let's keep going. I'm ready to go. So that's one learning that we've identified. Also, we had difficulties with breakout rooms the first day and modified and adjusted for the following days. Again, like we said, groups of 100 plus, that was in the original training, but then we would go ahead and identify breakout groups based on grade level or course assignments as much as possible. And then also so busy giving content that some trainings didn't even get breaks. So one thing that we learned is as trainers is to put in breaks on the slides, because the questions and the learning was real time. Also, slow the pace of the training. And that will help with differentiated levels going forward. But also the importance of modeling skills using gradual release. I do it, we do it together, now you do it. And we scheduled that in the breakout rooms. We do it, then you do it in your small groups. And then we tried to follow up immediately with after the professional development. Okay, there's 30 minutes to an hour. Let's do it on your own, working individually with the tools we just taught you to build your own Canvas classroom and add on those next dimensions or integrate these curricular resources. And then day 3, we went over pre-taught material and provided just-in-time support. So what we determined, the trainers did, is by day 3, in terms of Canvas, they're like, okay, we've got the staff feedback. We need to go ahead and just do pre-taught material, reteach it a second time. So they saw it a second time very quickly, and providing an overview, and then provide that ongoing just-in-time support so that those primary concepts taught on day 1 and 2 were well-grounded. And then provide smaller chunks for emerging proficient learners and larger chunks for new content for proficient or accelerated learners. And then also an idea and takeaway that we identified is going forward, now that they have the base skills, offer a menu of options for differentiated training. What specific components are you ready for to integrate into your Canvas classroom, or using Kami or other software to enhance your educational programming, and then self-select. Teachers can self-select into those trainings. Also incorporate, like Mark, you were saying, the trained lead teachers to help provide differentiated training for all 3 levels at their own school site. Now, if their comfort level is at the point where they can go ahead and assume those training responsibilities, great. If they don't, then we know we need to step in as instructional coaches and CNI staff to provide that just-in-time support. So I'd just like to turn it over right now to Elena, Brenda, if her mic's working.
Could I interrupt really quick, John?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Real quick first, did you see that I raised my hand in this meeting?
No, I didn't. It didn't show.
I'm just curious if that feature worked or not. So I saw it and wanted to try it. But anyways, Allie mentioned that the leads in the buildings didn't feel comfortable presenting some of the material. So I was wondering, I also saw that you guys have 3 levels of technology proficiency. When you chose the leads for each building, did you make sure to choose people that were in the advanced level of technology?
Yes, and advanced levels of instructional delivery, skilled practitioners, and individuals that have led other trainings in the past. But I'll go ahead and defer to the instructional coaches, how we did that.
Okay, thanks.
If you don't mind, Val, this is Brenda. So we looked at each grade band, and we did look for people who definitely were tech savvy, but this learning management system was new to all of us. So it's hard to ask people in 14 days to become an expert to the point where they feel comfortable passing that on, especially if you are tech savvy. You know that, wow, there's a lot I don't know. And I think they were aware of that. That being said, I kind of want to address what Mark asked about using those experts more. And we did intentionally use them in our breakout rooms. So we would break out our groups and make sure there wasn't a building or grade level expert in every single one of those small groups to lead those groups through independent practice. And I myself worked with 8 lead teachers, and 3 of those 8 lead teachers came to me privately and said, wow, I am feeling very overwhelmed because in addition to training and learning and coming up with templates and doing all this extra work, I have my own class to get ready. And so while I want to do this work and while I love to do this work, there's only so much I can do. So there were 3 different instances or 3 different conversations we had where I said, okay, well, when you're feeling overwhelmed, you pass those issues to me. And that's where I'm here to support, because I don't have a classroom to get ready. So we had more time to deal with that, where the teachers also, I mean, this was their second workload because they also had to do prep for their own classes.
I just wonder when you asked people if they wanted to do this in the summer, what were the what did you say to them? Once you get this training, what are we going to call on you to do, and maybe that was it. Maybe it was, you're going to be in breakout rooms or over the course. I don't know, what did you say to them?
These teachers spent about 30 hours to become experts, and that is nowhere near the amount of time the coaches had to take to become experts. So we asked those teachers to lead in breakout rooms with their colleagues, and they had the raise hand button. So when we gave them the opportunity that we don't expect you to know everything, but we know you're going to learn a lot in those 15 to 30 hours. So we gave them the raise hand button so they could call on us to support them when they needed it. And we've also asked them to be there to answer those small questions that come up in the building. That being said, I don't expect them to spend 2 hours training someone out of their day, because they have their job to do too. So they're there for those quick little questions that come up in the lunchroom or in the hallway that you can answer, so there's somebody on site to help them. But those instructional leads have also been told to contact their facilitator, which is me and Allison and Elena and Christina, when the load gets too big. So that's what we've asked them to do.
Another thing it's part of that, the training is we only gave them 10 hours of time to learn, and then they had a few more hours to work on their own. We literally spent hundreds of hours, the instructional team, to get the level of training needed, because Canvas has a lot of moving parts. And so trying to get how all those moving parts go together, I mean, we are literally talking about hundreds of hours on the instructional staff, and we didn't feel like we could ask teachers to put in hundreds of hours during the summer.
How many were trained? How many did you ask to do this over the course of the summer for the 10 hours or the 14 or whatever it was? How many?
At the secondary level, it was one person in every department at NAMS and one person in every department at the high school. Elena or Brenda will have to talk about elementary.
And at the elementary level, we had 1 to 2 teachers per grade level. And we made sure those represented different buildings as well. And then we also had specialists who came in to represent their groups.
So in the district, just how many? I mean, do you have a number for the district? Or?
Approximately 76, Mark.
Okay.
Approximately.
Okay.
And that includes the entire admin team.
Oh.
They too obviously had to learn Canvas and become proficient so that they could navigate in and out of teachers' classrooms, provide support, and then also be receptive to any feedback or any needs, and then direct them and be able to communicate what those needs are or next steps intelligently, and make an informed feedback to us on the CNI team. But again, we're going to be leaning much more on the district train the trainers, the lead teachers that have come on board. But we're also going to respect their level of willingness. So I think one of the things that we have been speaking of is, okay, so what is your level of readiness in terms of providing on-site support or leading the Wednesday professional development in your school site versus having outside district TOSA come in and provide the lead, and then you support in the breakout rooms as needed. And that's the ongoing work that needs to take place. And that's what we're looking at in terms of next steps. Let's see, Christina, did you have anything else to add? We've heard from others.
The only thing that I just wanted to mention too is the groups that we did were like K2 and then 3-6. And like I had the opportunity to work with all of our specialists, and that was intentional because the needs for each of those groups was much different, and how a kindergarten teacher is going to use Canvas is much different than how a 6th grade teacher or a counselor or our motor team. And so there are a lot of lessons that we learned, and the questions that you're asking are great ones and ones that we are asking. And even when I was able to do some of the other work, the cell work and the UDL the second week, that those questions were used to get feedback ahead of time from staff to then design and work on providing trainings that met needs. So that was our #1 priority, was ensuring that the way we were breaking up groups also allowed us the ability to provide them with very specific and intentional strategies and training that could help support them in their roles. So.
Thank you. Continuing on, it is a work in progress, and the PD exit surveys, we will go ahead and continue to provide them at the end of every training. We will also ensure that we continue to make the point that this helps inform our next steps and just-in-time support. C&I meetings were held at the end of each day, like I said, to review the PD surveys and monitor and adjust for upcoming trainings. And a lot of that was just based on, you know, what was the trainer's experience, what were the comments, and, you know, what were the points that we need to circle back and readdress, you know, just like a good teacher would. And then regular C&I and tech department meetings with FGEA leadership. One thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that we very intentionally asked the co-presidents of FGEA and their leadership teacher representatives from across the grade levels to meet with us in what we called an instructional technology meeting. And we've had those at multiple points throughout the year, and we're going to continue to do that because we understand that sometimes teachers don't feel comfortable or they don't have the time to fill out PD exit surveys, but we want to make sure that we're listening to what they're hearing in terms of feedback and suggestions to be made, you know, on how to better meet the needs of their union membership moving forward. So we really do appreciate Sarah Ogle and Serena Fritz. They've been instrumental, and our last meeting was this last Friday, and we have another one coming up this Friday, and then 2 weeks from now we'll schedule another one as we continue to monitor and adjust like good teachers do. So again, examples of changes requested from attendees. Canvas trainings move too fast or not always school district specific, our district specific. We recorded many of these videos, re-recorded many of these videos to ensure relevance to Forest Grove staff. So these trainers did that in addition to provide the trainings. And these are follow-up trainings for just-in-time support that teachers can access online so that they can go ahead and say, what was that point again on how to do X or how to do Y? And they can go ahead and look at that and click on that video and see just in time 3 to 5 minute videos that support their needs. Also, we've provided live demonstrations after showing the district videos. We provided more opportunities for the district to work in small groups via breakout rooms like we talked about. And they broke up trainings into smaller groups, building by content area, by grade band to ensure content was relevant. And this required coaches to repeat some trainings multiple times during pre-service. So here's the next component is parent and student resources and digital trainings that we've had to create or identify to support the successful transition to this 2020-21 school year. So these are some of the trainings in English and Spanish, how to log into a Chromebook with a Clever badge, how to log in with a Clever badge video, how to access Wi-Fi in your Forest Grove School District Google account, checklist for Zoom for teachers, checklist for teachers using Canvas, how to access my first Zoom meeting, how to Zoom video playlists in English and Spanish, how students access Canvas in English and Spanish, and how students and parents access Canvas and help in English and Spanish, among others. We've also working on parent video app, parent app video and tutorial, Google Translate extension, and how to take a photo with Chromebook using English and Spanish, and Remind, getting started for that ongoing just-in-time communication to be used between teachers and students and principals and teachers and staff and teachers with students and parents. So these are all new trainings that we are putting together in terms of resources. Some are completely done, others are in a work in progress. We've had multiple videos on backlog with SEMA, our translation services. And of course, as you can imagine, they're being inundated by multiple districts and not only public school, but private sector requests for translation services. But we are also using in-district staff to help with translation services as well. So these are beyond just the professional development training that was provided during pre-service. This is the successful transition to a virtual learning environment. So next steps, we have ongoing Wednesday trainings for staff, and we're going to monitor and adjust. Again, those trainings for Wednesday are designed to have a brief staff meeting in the morning, then go into an hour of training, followed by individual or PLC or grade level application time for the teachers on Wednesdays when we don't have staff, and live training during that time so that we can quickly ramp up the skill levels of all of our staff. Also, this team before you are standing ready and putting together training for substitutes, both teachers and classified staff on Zoom and Canvas. They're also training for pre-K through grade 6 staff in Canvas with Studio. We bought the enriched version of Canvas, and there's a lot of phenomenal, engaging, just-in-time supports using Studio. We need to share those components as well. But again, we need to monitor and adjust. And right now, our advanced groups are ready for Canvas with Studio, but the vast majority are not at this time. And then training on K-6 with online health curriculum. I just spoke with a representative today from the Great Body Works. They have it in English and in Spanish, and they're going to go ahead and share that with us. And Brenda, Lindsay, and the rest of the team are going to import that into Canvas so that teachers, parents, and students can have real-time access to those materials. And that timeline, we're waiting till probably October, November. Again, we're going to monitor and adjust as needed so that it's received to the level that it should be. Also, additional training for new teachers and one-to-one supports for new hires. We have new hires that were hired after these trainings have occurred, both licensed as well as classified staff. And this team stands ready to provide those individual one-on-one supports for those staff members and follow-up. So we are continuing with question and answer opportunities for our staff and principals as needed. Our coordinator and TOSAs will have office hours for support, but it's a very small district, and I call it a family instead of a Forest Grove School District team. And we have strong relationships with our teachers, and they reach out to Brenda and to Allison and to Christina and to Elena. Brenda and Elena, what was your time frame this weekend? What was your latest calls?
10:15.
At night?
Yes.
Yep. Did you answer it?
Yes, I did. No, that's how long it went on to. It came about 9:30.
Okay, good. And that's kind of indicative of our teachers and staff. They know that they have the just-in-time support, and they know that they'll go ahead and answer. But one thing that it was a learning thing for me is instructional coaches. They've been essential with the reopening efforts in terms of becoming trained in new digital technology and with the training efforts for all teachers and instructional personnel. I'm putting this in writing. School would not have been ready to open this year without them, period. We just need to make sure we get the training, the tools, and the time, and they have been phenomenal. Also, instructional coaches have been essential in providing the student and parent communication on how to access and use these new digital tools with the creation of videos in English and leading translation efforts into Spanish prior to the first day of school. And it will be an ongoing effort for that list of resources that we just shared with you. As you know, the addition of limited SIA funds this year, we received approximately 31.7%, but nobody's counting, of our SIA funds from the state. And as you know, Superintendent Parker and our cabinet prioritize the hiring of 1.0, one full-time ELD instructional coach for pre-K-8 and one FTE literacy coach for PK4 to help with these efforts to provide teachers and parents just-in-time support for ELD and literacy instruction. And we are so much looking forward to it. And we thank the board for the staff that we have here this evening, because like I said, we would not be ready with the timelines that were communicated from the state in terms of reopening. In summary, this is a work that has consumed our summer with the unprecedented task of converting our educational programming to a digital platform that delivers an engaging, interactive, and enriched learning experience for all students of the Forest Grove School District. As you know, when we went from supplemental learning to distance learning, we did not require students to complete assignments statewide, and that was the ODE and governor mandate. We did not require assignments and grades to be awarded. In this learning environment, we are making assignments. We do count attendance, and we also are striving to make sure the instructional needs of all students are being met. I'd like to thank the tireless efforts of the Curriculum Instruction Department, the Technology Department. Enrique, Deb Thrush, the entire team have been phenomenal. Student Services staff, Cassie, Kim, Toby, and particularly Christina, have worked alongside the rest of the district office staff in making sure this outcome is realized. Like Dave said, district office staff are going out delivering hotspots and Chromebooks to staff, and it's a team effort. And we just like to thank everybody for doing that, and the numerous staff members who have stepped up to help, not only as lead teachers, but as classified staff, office staff, etc. And lastly, again, we'd like to thank the board for giving us the tools that we need to meet our vision for instruction as we move into comprehensive distance learning, and hopefully transition at some point during the year to hybrid once the virus permits throughout the year ahead. So at this time, I'd be more than happy to entertain any questions, further questions from the board, and any comments from our C&I team. Kate.
Yeah, I have a question. I do want to say it's overwhelming to see all the work that everybody's put in. Bless you all. I mean, what a heroic effort. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So my question is, do we have adequate allocation dollars for translation? I mean, we've done the budget previously, we've diminished that, but now there seems to be a huge need because so do we have enough money there, and are there other needs that we need to address that the board needs to approve?
Well, first of all, thank you for recognizing the yeoman's task. I know the entire board feels the same way. Yeah. We've never, ever, ever experienced this. To convert the entire system, PK-12, to digital online and have the success that we enjoyed today with our students. It's a work in progress. And what I really appreciate about Dave Parker's leadership is he routinely identifies grace, grace, grace. You know, and one thing that I hear from my peers as assistant superintendent PLC, time and time again, from when we were in supplemental learning and distance learning, one thing that separated our district from other districts is the paramount importance of our students and parents during this time of worldwide crisis. That trumped, you know, if the kids aren't doing well, you know, they're not going to be ready to receive the best lesson that we identify. But Kate, full transparency, probably not. You know, when I came to the board and said, here's our suggested budget, we didn't think we were going to still be in comprehensive distance learning or hybrid, et cetera.
I think it's a little more complicated than that, though. So yeah, probably not. But the other issue is we're not using translation in other areas. So we don't really know yet. And okay. I think this will play out as the year goes on. It's like kind of like our substitute budget, right? Which is we're not using as many subs off, so that money can be swung into some other places. I know Eileen she would probably have some comments about it, but I'm not ready to worry too much about that translation piece. I think I'm more, I think as we get in there, these are all new patterns for us, right? Like this isn't the way we usually do school. So our familiar way of spending money and the way it ebbs and flows during the year, it's all different. So again, I think we just have to kind of pay attention, which Eileen does a really nice job of. So I wouldn't say yet that I'm worried, but certainly we're watching that because we are using it more, especially off the beginning. Other questions? I know we've been almost an hour on this, so I wanted to, but there's lots of questions, lots of things. We're learning about what we're doing with this, and we're about to get a lot more differentiated as the teachers are learning about this in their PLCs in their schools. And again, our instructional coaches have put in hundreds of hours of work. So they've worked very hard.
Yeah, I would just say thank you for all the preparation. I know, I mean, I don't know, I say that, but it's, you know, the late phone calls and all the hours. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate all the efforts that have gone into making this first day, you know, a good day. And I think we all know this is the start though, and it's just the first day. And so, you know, it's what we do after this day for the first 9 weeks, and then maybe the next 9 weeks that's really going to be critical. So I, you know, my hat goes off to everybody in the district for getting us to this point, and you know, just a job well done. So thank you. I think if there are any other questions before we move on, we have one action item this evening, and then, okay, well, thank you everybody, and we'll move on in the agenda to the next item then. And that is the Budget Committee open positions. And Eileen, I believe you're going to speak to this one.
Thank you, Mark. So it's really hard this year, just starting in the 2021 school year. We're going to start talking about the 21-22 budget year. This year we have 3 budget committee positions plus the alternate open for the 21-22 budget process. These positions typically serve a 3-year term, with the alternate position serving a 1-year term. Historically, the board has directed us to contact previous budget committee members to determine their willingness to serve again, and then to also place an ad in the News Time. Attached in the board packet is a copy of what the posting would look like that would be placed in the News Times. And the timeline for this process is October, we would be publishing in the News Times for the open positions, take the applications in November, and then the board would then appoint the positions in December. Right now, at this time, we're looking for the board to declare the budget committee vacancies open, and then to recommend a process for us to begin to collect those applications for the board.
Okay, thank you. I think the only question maybe that I would have, Eileen, is I don't know if it was, I think it was last year, but maybe it was the year, I get my years mixed up, but I think at one point we sort of met with the candidates for the position before we appointed. And I kind of like that process. I don't know how other board members feel about that. And so is that something, it's probably not built into this timeline, or is it? Or
let me look. If we have the applications due by November 30th, we would then have 2 full weeks for the board to do those interviews before that board meeting.
Okay, I don't, yeah, go ahead. Other board members, that's just.
you know, in the past, we've asked members that have been on the budget committee if they would like to serve again. And you know, I think it's good to have new people, but I also think that the inability to meet, you know, some of the board committee members, they know, you know, our administrators and the board members and the process. So I would like us to consider to ask the committee members if they would like to reapply.
I think I read that in there, didn't I, Eileen? Was that, I think that's in what Eileen put.
Okay, I don't have that up in front of me, sorry.
So I would just make one comment on top of that, that I do think that's a good idea, but I also think it's a good idea to reach out to other options too. And I'm just wondering, Eileen, did we post, last year, did we post on the district webpage and Facebook page, and did David send stuff throughout the other social network media? Go ahead.
If I remember right, we did the district webpage, Facebook, and the News Times.
Okay, perfect. You want me to move, Mark, to declare those 3 positions open?
Yeah, I guess so I understand it. So we would move to declare the 3 positions open, and then we would also contact those who have served before and ask if they were interested again. Is that correct?
In the past, the board has directed me to contact and reach out to them to see if they're interested, and then ask them to reapply.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense to me, I think. Yeah.
I think in the packet, there's actually 4 recommendations that you guys have that are written down there. Declare the vacancies, direct the financial to contact the previous members, receive applications from throughout November, and then declare action that will be taken, blah, blah, blah.
I so move.
I so second.
All right. So I'm a yes. Brad?
I'm a yes, Mark.
Narce?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Kate?
Yes.
And Val?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
that motion passes. I think now we're on to future action items. Any future board items or board discussion?
I just have make sure I have a comment, Mark, regarding, you know, people have asked me about when we retire and somebody retires in the district and they want to double dip. What process are we going through? I've had some questions, and I just want to make sure, Dave, that you have a chance to kind of at some point review what the process is going to be, especially for the one person that we have retiring right now, even though it's not, it's kind of at an odd time in the school year. So I wonder, Dave, if you can kind of review at some point and go through that with the board, exactly what your thoughts are.
Yep, I can do that. Absolutely. We may need to run a special board meeting on the September 21st to deal with the classified OSEA's contract. So I just wanted to point it out there. It comes at a weird time, but it had to do with the wildfires. They weren't able to vote, but we've got to kind of move on it. So I just want to point it out that we may need a quick board meeting to just talk about that one action item.
Okay, and and I do see the other item there. The property purchase will be on the September 28th meeting agenda. Is that right, Dave? So,
yep.
Okay. Okay, no, if there are no other comments or discussion items, I'll close the meeting at 7:03 p.m. So we'll close the meeting and the meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everyone.
Stay healthy.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye, thank you.